box that we did for the third time.
Yes.
And I said I didn't put it in there, I didn't know if we had to actually approve it, or if we approved it on that third reading, if it was that.
It can be approved, we have a quorum, and, there's no reason it can't go up for vote tonight or anyway.
Well, no, that was it, but I had this
But it needs
for
to go up for,
them.
but it's just a standard ordinance procedure, we don't need an emergency clause or any of that, Jazz.
I don't think it has the emergency clause on it.
No, because this was the third reading, but I didn't know if there needed to be another motion and second and vote after, because this was the cheat sheet I put in there.
If it's not a help, I would just make the motion.
We said if you ain't gonna be here, we were gonna just do it.
No, I
Just
just-
for good measure.
Just for good measure.
The emergency clause would make it take effect today. If you don't include the emergency clause, then it would take effect tonight. But that is not the reading the three readings does.
Do we need it done in 90 days? Do we need it done?
Well, it gives people a year.
Do it anyway.
This actually does not have, it specifically does not have a emergency clause. It says it shall be effective 90 days from the day of the adoption. So this, no, it does have a vote, it just doesn't have the emergency clause.
Yeah, that's right.
Unless somebody wants to take it to more discussion.
We haven't done anything. Okay, I guess it's 7 o'clock.
I don't have a feeling.
It's usually some. There's usually some on the calendar. Okay. Okay, I'll call the council meeting to order December 19th, 2024. If you'll stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mark Hickman,
Yes. Here.
Zach Jeffrey,
Here.
Jack Paul,
Here.
Kyle Marks,
Here.
James Snyder,
Here.
and Larry Hill.
Here.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, November 26, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from, November 2.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the next item is the November 2024 financial statement.
I'll make a motion to adopt the
Second.
financial statement for November.
Mark Hickman,
Yes.
Zach Jeffrey,
Yes.
Jack Paul,
Yes.
Kyle Marks,
Yes.
James Snyder,
Yes.
Larry Hill.
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is ordinance 2024-09. This is the Knox box, and it's the third reading, and this was proposed by the fire marshal and code enforcement officer, Chris Matthews.
Somebody want to do a motion and second to read it by title only?
Yes, let me get back to that one working, but I'll make a motion that we, place ordinance 2024-09 on its third reading by title only.
Second. Second.
We have a motion and a second to place ordinance 2024-09 on its third reading by title only. Dustin, if you'll read that by title only, please. You will take a vote, okay? Okay, okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed?
Ordinance 2024-09, ordinance establishing requirement of Knox box or similar devices to be installed on commercial, industrial, or institutional structures within the city limits of Mayflower for other purposes.
Okay, now is there any discussion?
Someone's inclined to put up her actual ordinance up for a vote, this will be.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-09.
Second.
Discuss it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, yes. Discussion.
I think we had the discussion on the first reading that it's a good thing. Most businesses, it's going to be a good thing for businesses to save them money. New businesses are installing it anyway. Existing businesses, I understand, have a year to comply with it before there's any pressure. Is that correct?
So looking more about the content of the ordinance, it says 90 days from date of adoption, which so February 19th before it takes effect. Then I understand they basically have a year to get in line, which will not start until February 19th.
So they have 15 months from today.
Essentially, yeah.
So
Because
Plenty of time.
that's when the ordinance doesn't really take effect until not another 90 days.
Any other discussion? Okay, this is going to be for the adoption of ordinance 2024-09. Mark Hickman,
Yes.
Zach Jeffrey,
Yes.
Jack Paul,
Yes.
Kyle Mark,
Yes.
James Snyder,
yes,
Larry Hill.
Yes.
The next on the agenda is resolution 2024-29. It's to adopt a temporary budget for 2025.
So I'll make the motion to adopt Resolution 2024-29, temporary 2025 budget.
second.
And then we can have discussion.
Yeah, discussions, because I've got some questions. Obviously, the numbers aren't what we want, that's why it's a temporary budget. A lot of numbers thrown out in the last couple of days, moving around. Obviously, not at the number we need to be at, it's working toward that number. I guess my question is, maybe a legal question, Dustin, what are the effects if we don't adopt a temporary budget, if we just work out, as the law has to have a budget adopted by February 1st.
The law only has two requirements, is that the mayor give the city council some framework of a budget by December 1st, which I think has been done. Then you have to pass it by February 1st. That's all it says. Temporary budget basically makes a smooth transition for payroll and all the expenses that was, after January 1st. Or what if you have a weather, can't get a meeting together or something like that? So there's no requirement in the law that you do a temporary budget.
I've,
like see there's usefulness of it.
Is y'all's mic on?
I believe so.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Turn it up.
In the last workshop we had, can you hear that again, Jim?
Can you
hear us now?
Oh, yeah.
In the last workshop we had, the police department cut their budget. We're waiting on the administrative to cut theirs. I've looked to see something. I have not seen anything. So I'm not willing personally to vote on a budget that we've not had any cuts with. The numbers are still aren't where they need to be. And that's where I stand.
Questions, what is the impact on payroll and things January 1?
I don't know. That's a crystal.
There isn't one. Payroll will have to be done as usual.
It would just continue
But,
at
yeah.
2024 rates?
Yes, absolutely. Until the budget is finalized, yeah, we won't change anything.
This is still at the .2
1.9, I think, right now.
Up to 1.9. But
Well, this is just a continuation, right, of what we have today.
No,
on
no,
payroll it is. But it also includes the capital outlays, that were left in from the proposed budget that we got on December 1st. And the new spending and everything for the year that we're in there. I think the only thing it held the same were in fact payrolls.
Why didn't we just do a continuation? That's what I thought we were going to do.
I kind of thought that's what it was, and that's why I was asking, I don't want it to be like, hey, we can't write any checks because we don't have a budget, we can't pay our employees, that's a mess, I don't want to get into that.
Right.
Federal government's supposed to shut down tomorrow because of
Right.
a similar thing, and that's not us, we can work through something better than that.
Yeah.
But if there are no imminent, if you will, shutdown, if our employees are still gonna get paid at the continuation rate and all of that, I don't see the point in rushing into any votes tonight, even for a temporary budget, unless it's a necessary thing, unless it's legally necessary, unless it's something that must be done.
She's shaking her head no. I mean, that,
It's not. All we have to do is make sure that we have it adopted by February 1st.
I thought we were told we had to have at least a temporary budget in by January 1st.
Dale mentioned that, and that's where my confusion, that's why I consulted the attorney with this, and what I've got the rule pulled up, and I can forward it to you, that Barbara sent out to us last week, I believe.
Last Friday.
I just don't want to run afoul of any state statutes.
And I mean, the way I read that, listen, I'm no legal scholar, but the way that I read that, it says city budgets, Arkansas law and budgeting, every city in town must have an annual operating budget approved by its governing body. The mayor must submit the budget to the governing body of the city or town by December 1st. The council shall enact the budget by February 1st. It does say the governing body should also enact a temporary budget or spending resolution for January, as all expenditures of city funds must be authorized by an appropriation of funds approved by a majority vote of the council. The budget constitutes such an appropriation. That's what gets me there. The fiscal year shall begin on January 1st and end at midnight on December 31st. Then it goes on to talk about deficit spending, which is what we're trying to avoid. And they must have their financial affairs audited annually by a certified public accounting or legislative audit.
So I hear two things in there. First, it said should,
that's, you should, yeah.
didn't say
That's
has
why-
to.
Your best practices is that
Yeah,
you should.
but the second part is that any expenditures have to be authorized by the city council. So outside of payroll, would that then mean that no expenditures can be laid out since we haven't authorized a budget for 24 for January, or for 25, I'm sorry, for January? I don't want to hem the city up by not being able to pay bills or anything like that if we don't have something in place authorizing at least current levels into January.
we're talking about a 1 month basic budget, you know, and yeah, I realize that it's not where we want it right now, but that's the whole point of just doing it temporary, is that
Sure,
we'll
ends
get
on
it.
the 31st. I guess at this point, I'm just as far as not departmentally, in certain departments, there are issues that have come up in 1 month that trouble me, that if we give that check, essentially if we do that budget, there are provisions in there for departments to spend a certain amount for the fiscal year.
Well,
That could be blown out in that month.
here's my thinking on it. For you new guys, we have salaries that are paid for through the water department that are supposed to come out of general budget. Okay? The water department carries salaries and things like that it shouldn't. That's technically a separate entity. It's a separate business. that we also need to put on, and we need to establish this water board, and we really need to run the water department by the water board. Because at this point, decisions are being made, parking lots are put in, paid for by the road department, it's, you know, I mean, all this kind of stuff is intermingling. This technically, in my opinion, is not legal. And it's our responsibility, as us sitting here at this table, to create a budget and approve a budget, right?
Well, approved, we don't have to create it, right? Doesn't the mayor have to create it?
You're exactly right, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
So unless I'm mistaken, we determine what the budget's gonna be,
Mhm.
and that's what that's gonna be, right?
Yep.
Okay, so at this point, we've given it to the department heads to make some cuts. After several meetings of it not being cut, we're having this discussion about what should we do? Do we get in trouble? Do we not get in trouble? We're the ones that answer the question. We're right here at the table. We either don't or do, or we say this is your budget or this is not your budget. And now, if they go do other things, they blow the budget, and they do it, they just go spend $20,000 on the parking lot where $6,500 was
Allocated.
approved.
Oops.
Are you aware of that, Kyle? You know, we approved $6,500 to remove some trees over here. You remember that?
Those gumballs clogging
There's a
everything.
parking lot over there now.
There's a parking lot there to the tune of about $20,000. None of it's approved. We just went and did it. Just we want to. Now, here's the deal. The water department bought that property over there. That is the water department's property. So we decided, we want that as our property. We want to put a parking lot there. So we go get the street department to pay for $20,000 of unauthorized money. And by the way, we can't find a place we can cut a budget. There's just no money there. We've got to have this budget. We've got to have the big numbers. We've got to grow. And it's my intention. It's my desire. I'm one of 6, but it's my desire. We get this budget down to where we live within our economic means, which we're not doing, not necessarily anybody's fault, but the income is less. And so the spending's got to go down. It's just that simple. Well, not only are we not working with the budget and coming up with numbers that we can meet, we're out spending $20,000 out of a budget that we shouldn't be spending. With no authority, with no approval, no nothing. But it's my belief that if we lower the budget to get down to the number that we really need, which is that 3, and we agreed a little bit to fudge a little bit on that. But then, on top of that, we agree to that, but then it comes about this big bunch of money we're spending with no authority, and I mean, there's no telling what's out there that comes through us, that happens that we're supposed to get approval on. It's not happening. So I think we need to lower the budget to the point to where, as the city grows and as more revenue comes in, instead of growing with that, we need to let the money build up where we have a surplus, and that we can start paying the salaries out of the main fund that we need to be paying out of. Let the water department operate on their merit, and let the city operate on its merit and on its income. And then we can start looking at growing the city as it goes. Okay? I've looked and I've brainstormed and that's really the only responsible way to do it. And we can be like the government and just blow it and just do what we want to. But we're going to get caught on it because we're not supposed to do that. But nobody can come up with the cuts that we need to come up with to be within the state's recommendations and the guidelines and things like that. And so it's our responsibility sitting at this table. Everybody sitting at this table to say, okay, we got to cut something, and it's just the way it is. We can pass a temporary budget. We can do all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, by February, we're still going to have to look and embrace the fact that we don't have the income coming in that we used to have. We're back to 2021 numbers and we're spending 2024 spending. So what we're saying is, hey, let's pass a budget, a temporary budget with 2024 numbers, with 2021 income, and we'll work it out later. We kick this can down the road, probably kick it 2 months down the road. We should have done this 2 months ago. That's my 2 cents.
So what are, I guess, what are our options? The statute says should, not has to.
Well, the income is what the income is.
Right, so,
Okay.
right, I'm just, right now I'm just thinking about January. What are our options to get through January? Because, you know, in the workshop, we said, you know, we were going to have more workshops, and however many we had to have in order to get the final budget. The mayor's supposed to still submit to us a new budget to review. We haven't gotten that yet. And to have it ready by February 1st. So what do we need to do to make sure that in January, city government can still function?
We're gonna have the exact same conversation again. I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
I apparently don't.
Between now and February, ain't gonna make a difference. We've got to cut the budget.
Oh, yeah, I agree
We've
there.
got to cut the budget.
Right.
I know that we wanna keep doing it. We wanna just rear back, kick that can one more month, but why do that?
No, I don't even want to kick the can. What I want to make
Stop,
sure,
Let's cut the budget, let's make the budget be what it's gonna be, and let's pass it, and we're done. We don't have to talk about this all night. It's a fact that it's gotta get done. We don't have choices.
well, right, but first off, are we allowed to make the budget? Because that says the mayor makes it and gives it to us and we approve it. So does the statute allow us to make the budget, number one? Number two, I don't want to kick the can, but I also don't want to get to January 1 and payroll be the only thing that we can do. We have to shut down.
James, at this point, this is where I'm coming from and what I feel, I don't care if we don't pass the budget, period. If the state needs to come in and take over, they take over. They'll tell us what we're gonna do. I'm serious about we have to cut our spending. We're not able to get a budget from the admin of where we're at.
So that's,
So we're waiting till this, and so there's no sense in passing anything temporary.
well, that's my question. What are our options now?
We just don't pass it, in my opinion. You just don't pass it and come back when you got a budget.
May I say something? I think what we need to do, since we looked at the budget and the administrative side budget was what we needed, the numbers from the mayor, and he's not here tonight. I'm hoping he's well in his surgery today. Let's meet again on the 27th, and we'll resolve it at that time. That's how
If
we'll
they've got a
meet.
budget, if
And
they got
if-
something to
but
bring
we
to us,
can't-
but I don't wanna come up here for a special meeting, they come up here and say, well, we don't
But
have it.
we can't make a decision tonight because we don't have those
We
numbers,
don't.
sir.
We don't. There's no sense in passing a budget time.
Let's come back on the 27th and rehash it.
I'll be here. I mean, anytime we want to have a meeting about it, I'll come up and do it.
Is that Friday?
That's Friday or even Monday the 30th.
We can do it Monday the 30th.
To clarify it, there's no requirement that a temporary budget has to pass. The word temporary budget is not even in the statute. There's no, I mean, you operate with the last one that was put, that was passed.
So if we don't pass
The
anything,
24 would keep rolling.
okay. So that was my concern. I didn't want us to be in a situation where we're shut down and people can't get services through the city. They can't go up to the water department
I
or.
don't see Crystal having, she's shaking her head. I don't see any reason why that would happen.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for our accountant, James.
Doug?
Yeah. So I don't know what advice he's given, but I know that the law does not, you're not running afoul of the law by not passing
Okay.
a temporary budget. Or you could pass one, but in the absence of that, it's just going to be reverted to the last one that you had.
I was gonna say, and I don't know how this looks, but based on where we've been in the past 30 days, or so. If it wasn't the rest of the council's desire to pass a temporary budget, I'd like to introduce a new resolution myself. I don't know what teeth it would have because it hasn't worked thus far, but to cut the mayor's spending limit down to $1,000.
The thing
That
you
way
gotta
we
do
couldn't
on
blow
top
that
of that,
budget. We have to have teeth in it. I
you
know it
have
has
to
to
have
be
a
enforced.
consequence if you do it. And I'm okay with that.
Because otherwise, not saying what happened, but history does tend to repeat. And with $35,000 in admin in that temporary budget for operations and maintenance, that could be gone through very quickly.
No argument for me?
So, if I understand right, we want to just continue operating under the 2024 budget.
That'll be that's the default. That's what'll happen if,
There's a motion on the table for the temporary budget. We have to do one of two things, either vote on that or withdraw the motion. That's
Yeah.
why we're still in
Let's just
discussion.
vote, let's just vote on it, and we'll just be done.
Vote it
We just
down.
hadn't passed it yet.
or just withdraw it.
I'm sorry,
I can withdraw the motion.
let's vote on it, I mean, that's, might as well.
Okay.
Okay. So this is to vote on the temporary budget, resolution 2024-29. Mark Hickman,
No.
Zach Jeffrey,
No.
Jack Paul,
No.
Kyle Mark,
No.
James Snyder,
no,
Larry Hill.
No.
Okay. The next item I have on the agenda is approval of expenditures. And Crystal, you may have to help me on this when it was, a couple of checks that were above the $5,000 spending limit. And we needed the council's guidance on this, of what we needed to do. It was on the parking lot out there at the water department, for hauling gravel and for the Granite Mountain Quarry,
The actual gravel.
the actual gravel.
And have they been paid?
No, sir, they have not been paid.
but we have the gravel.
We have the gravel, it's, yes, on the parking lot, my understanding.
So if we
And-
don't approve it, then we don't pay a vendor who's already delivered the product.
Exactly, exactly.
That puts us in a bit of a pickle, bit of a bind.
There was two separate checks. One was for gravel from Granite Mountain Quarry. The other was from Danny Rogers Excavating for the hauling.
What
was
was
the
what was
values?
the amount?
The amount was, for the hauling, $5,920. For the gravel was $6,297.57.
9,000 plus 65.
62.97, 57, and 59.20.
So that plus the 3,500 more than we spent that we're not supposed to, what is that grand total? Can you have that in front of you?
I don't have the grand total on
Skip 1, 2, 11.
I mean, if we.
12
Looking at
$12,217.
Plus the 6,500 that we approved to cut trees.
$21,000 is about 21,500, something like that.
We approved to cut trees, and it's my understanding that went over.
18,717.
So,
It's 6,500 plus the 12,000 is $18,717.57.
plus another 3,500. from
Plus another
the extra
35.
trees they decided to cut.
Colonel, I'll see a puzzled look on your face, because we said in the workshop, and we're told it was
65.
$8,000. When we asked about the price of the parking lot, it was around $8,000. Those two vendors alone were $12,000. Not to mention, this is not on Mr. Johnson.
$22,217.57.
When we got his November daily reports, 5 of the 14 days, his manpower was spent on that lot. 35% of his manpower for the month of November was spent working on that lot in addition to those numbers.
And so now that you're done, now that we're done, now they want to come back and ask for approval to write these checks for it.
That's the pickle that I was saying that we're put in, because
And so
we've already had a vendor.
I can't, how am I gonna vote to approve something that's already done? That was done against the rules and the law? How are we gonna do that?
Justin, is that even possible?
You can, they're requesting yeah, you can say no to it.
Then we're gonna be facing litigation from the vendor.
Absolutely, we'll be sued.
We're in a pickle. Those vendors didn't put us in this pickle. People
Nope.
sitting at this table didn't put us in that pickle.
Right?
And the people that did do it aren't gonna change. So,
Let's get all those people together here. Let's,
I think we ought to wait till we got everybody together.
I think we should, and then.
Because the story that you got the other day, said in this workshop, you told me it was somewhere around $10,000, I think. Yeah.
Let's,
When it was $20-something thousand. Because we weren't told the truth on it.
I got it.
And so I'd like an explanation of that, because, and it was on somebody else's property, technically, the water department's property. We just said, hey, we're gonna come do this. Well, we
What do
don't-
you need?
hang on, Jimmy Joe. The street department in the city does not own that property, so we really need to get, I really don't see how that's appropriate. I don't need anything. The fact that you told me the truth later on, but the fact was,
You asked me that night for an estimate.
we were
I
told.
didn't have the numbers.
Yes, we were told, and you told me later, but you said it was around $10,000. $20,000 is not even close to an estimate. It's not even close to it.
Well, you're adding the trees. You asked me about the gravel
Yeah,
I spent on the parking.
I'm not referring to you at this point. Now, you can get in the conversation if you want to, but at this point,
Well, I'm
the conversation
fine
wasn't
with
about
it.
you. You were told to do something.
Right.
So, but again, this is not at you, unless you want to get in the conversation. But what I'd probably suggest, Gordon, sit down and let us handle this meeting, because you were part of the situation,
Yeah,
even though you
part
weren't
of
the
it.
one making the
I was in the middle of it.
So, if you don't mind, let us handle this and let's talk about this.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't need me.
I got it. I got it.
So, I agree with you. I think we ought to wait and get everybody together, let them give us an explanation.
I'll make a motion to table this until we can have a meeting.
I second the motion.
To get it straightened out.
Before we vote, I'd like to ask one question. Crystal, you might know, are we going to be, are there any financial penalties if we don't pay this vendor ASAP?
Not that I'm aware of, but they could impose them. I mean, I haven't looked at their invoices, so
Okay.
there could be.
Like a net 30, net 6,
Yes,
something?
yes.
Do we know what kind of fee or percentage that would be? No. Okay. What are we, about 2 weeks out from that?
Well, we already have that. When did we get the invoices? Were they brought in, or did they? We've had them for a couple of weeks now, so.
Do we not have 30, 90 days to make the payment?
I have to look at the invoice at the time, but
it'll be on the invoice.
we're not used to holding payments. That's why I really don't have an answer to your question.
That was my only question. I just wondered if we were going to be charged if we don't.
I get it,
Yeah.
but it still doesn't change the fact that
Right.
we need to table it until somebody else.
Right, I just wanted us to know,
The consequences. Yes,
Right.
I get you.
yeah.
The work completed on it?
Yes.
Well,
Completed on it?
the work that's been billed
The
up.
parking lot.
I haven't seen the invoices, I don't know. The work is not complete on the parking lot.
I thought it was.
There's one problem with that, maybe you can help with this as someone who's involved with planning. Do we not have a resolution or an ordinance on the books that parking lots must be paved?
No, I don't think so, because we just talked with the school about being able to use gravel for one of the parking spaces if it comes back that we passed a variance on the planning commission for their new health clinic. They were one parking spot short of square footage, of how many parking spaces they would require for the square footage of the building. So we said that they have to come back, that they could put down gravel and make a parking space and it would count.
But you said variance, so are we gonna retroactively vote on a variance for a gravel parking lot at the water department as well?
So if they need a variance,
No, we did not. The variance is for the parking space. It's not for what the parking space is on.
I'm only asking, I don't know the rules and I don't, regretfully.
Right.
But I do know that we've had some people build in this city that their hand was forced on different designs on parking lots where they were gonna, in time, pave and things like that, were forced to go ahead and put the curbs in and.
Curb and
do all
gutter.
those things.
Yeah.
I just wonder if we're even
I
up.
think that's probably be a good idea to go back and research that.
Yeah.
And come back to us with an answer.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I don't either, but I'll look up the code. Chris isn't here, is it? No. I'll pull the code and I'll find out for us, and I'll be able to tell us by the time we come back next week. So we'll know if that has to be, because we'll be in a real pickle then if we have to pave that
Well,
thing.
because we've got, this is my point. If we're looking at an unauthorized, and this all goes to the conversations we need to have in the future. But if we're looking at an unauthorized $20,000, $10,000, let's go back to the $12,000 expenditure. Although I don't think that includes all, that's just the things that were over the $5,000 threshold. Just to be fair. There are concrete parking lots sitting in that parking lot that, I don't know what they cost, but they're not free. And I don't think that's.
$50 a piece.
50 apiece.
How many of them's out there?
Let's see, I had 9 left, I bought 50. So it'd be what, 51?
Well, for them kids, it's 41. He said,
If 50 of them was 2,700 and something dollars.
So now we're up another $3
For
grand.
50, yeah.
My point is, if we've got a $25,000 parking lot over there, let's call it 15, because let's subtract the trees. Even though I think that went over as well. If we're looking at another 20,000 to pave it and double down, maybe we cut our losses and plant the trees that I recommend we plant whenever we cut down the other trees. If it's not an authorized expenditure, guys, if we don't have consequences for it, we can set a budget all day like we talked about. We can set spending limits on the mayor like we talked about. But if those aren't adhered to, then what are we doing? If there are no consequences for those actions, what's the point in us setting the stage?
Did we
It sounds
have
it's
any
legal, but it's
consequences?
just trying to get-
When we lowered the threshold from 10 to 5, did we, was there any consequence for going over that at that point?
Dustin could talk to this, but when I talked to him about it, basically when we made the change, we didn't put any consequences in it, because usually if there's a rule out there and you adhere to it. But now that it's not, there's really nothing we can do. Even if we put teeth in it, you still have to go to the prosecutor. Still has to go through all these channels that they don't want to deal with. So, you know,
2022 ordinance that reduced it from 10 to 5 was an amendment of one that you've already had on the books for many years. And also it didn't have any teeth in it. When you say teeth.
You wouldn't hope you had
No
to
consequence.
have any consequences for TV.
I mean, it's the same as my wife and I sat down and did our family budget, the other night. Well, we didn't know at the bottom of it, we didn't write what's the consequence of it. We trust each other to not do it. So that's, no, there's no other than just,
Sounds like we need to
Family meeting.
there's no,
have a Jesus meeting with some things.
there's many ordinances on our books in cities all over Arkansas, that they don't, there's not a penalty, you know, that it's just,
You would think that people would just follow that rule that's supposed to be there.
I need you to come talk to my teenager.
Yeah. We're not dealing with teenagers here, we're dealing with a grown adults.
Right.
And so, that's the sad part.
Yeah.
And a lot bigger budget than most of our,
Where are we, Dustin? Where are we now?
I just, while this is up for discussion, I want to say something just about the parking lot itself. I mean, there's people probably watching this at home that don't, they just hear about parking lot, but, okay, today is another example. We had court today. Most of the people, you know, chief and officer here, we're all here. This room is full. I mean, we have at a minimum 150 people that all drive cars that get here, and this room is as full as it can possibly be. And every single time we have it, we have to have an interruption for Lieutenant Decker to come in and say, hey, the post office is calling, you gotta come move, and then 20 people have to get up because they've moved out. But a parking lot is absolutely needed. Now, did we get there in a sloppy way? I agree with that, but
How many-
convince me we don't need a parking lot.
Well, you
for
know,
these
you're
overflow
right.
cars. It's not just for just the fun of having one. It's
This is,
absolutely needed.
honestly, this is the first time I've heard that we need a parking lot.
I was asked last month about cutting trees down because the gumballs were stopping up culverts.
Well, I thought, yeah.
I think the point was is that the way we go about acquiring the parking lot.
How many
We can talk
spaces?
all day long about how we got there, but it is, I mean,
How many spaces did we gain with that lot
I
again?
don't know that answer.
Jimmy Joe, do you know?
41,
How many spaces? 20?
20.
That helps, but I mean, that is on the
Sell those for
regular
$1,000
occurrence,
apiece.
that we have to stop court, they have to have people get up and go move from there, because they're parked illegally at wherever, post office, library.
so what was the reason why it wasn't built to the proper channels?
I don't know.
We got a parking lot. We need a parking lot, we do a parking lot. I don't mind, it's okay. But to break the law to do it, we're responsible for the budget is not okay. And that's my point in the deal.
It sounds like a discussion we need to have with other people present. We clearly got some loose ends when it comes to several things. Accounting expenditures, the way the bills are submitted, all that. I've already inquired, I'm looking at the beginning of the year, to bring a proposal to the council and to get the council to actually create a request for proposal to an outside accounting firm to look at our financial and our auditing practices. Not necessarily a full books audit, but to look at our practices and see where we can tighten up, because we can't get a handle on it. We're spitting in the wind.
I agree with that 100%. So, did you make a motion we table? I'll second that motion.
It's already been seconded.
Okay. Can we vote?
Any more discussion?
Okay, now we did a motion and a second and a vote to table the resolution. Are you motion and second on the expenditures, or?
We never voted on the,
Yeah,
It's
we
the
did.
table.
We voted to
Table.
table it.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Until we can get some more information from,
What we actually did was to vote on the resolution, but all the votes were no.
correct, and
So-
then
That's right.
JP made a motion to table the
The
finance,
expenditures.
the expenditures.
The resolution on the expenditure.
Yes,
and Larry second.
Larry seconded, and now we're gonna vote on that. We did the discussion.
Okay, I'm caught up now.
You're trying to do two jobs.
I'm losing myself. Mark Higman,
Yes.
Zach Jeffrey,
Yes.
Jack Paul,
Yes.
Cal Mark,
Yes.
James Snyder,
Yes.
Larry Hill.
Yes.
Okay, The next thing we have is comments. Anybody have any comments? Anybody from the audience have comments? Our next regular city council meeting is scheduled for 7 p.m. Tuesday, January the 28th, 2025. The next planning commission meeting is scheduled for 7 p.m. Tuesday, January the 14th, 2025. The next council workshop meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. Thursday, January the 9th, 2025. We have nothing further. I ask for a motion to
Make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I'll say.
Okay, well, thank you. It'll be here in just a few days.